13 inches at Chattanooga, Tennessee, and Birmingham, Alabama, for instance. Chattanooga setting an all-time 24-hour snowfall record. Been blizzard conditions over parts of Georgia, and snow has fallen into the western and northwestern sections of Florida this morning, around Pensacola, Panama City, and Tallahassee. A few snowflakes in the air right now. We have some storm totals. Birmingham, Asheville, and Chattanooga, 13 inches, 6 inches at Marietta, and 2 inches on the Gulf Coast at Mobile, Alabama.
Look at your local radar. But first, the 36-hour forecast from the National Weather Service. Extended forecast. The current local radar showing any precipitation in your area. Intensive radar. But first, the current local conditions. Regional conditions.
The cold air filtered down, and then as it met up with the moisture source, or that area of low pressure, take a look at the heavy snow that we've seen over the Appalachians. Even down south over the Great Smokies, we've had heavy snow. Eastern Tennessee, 13 inches. In Chattanooga, the heaviest we've seen in a 24-hour period ever. So we're talking major records set across the southeast. Here's a look at some individual snowfall tallies. Birmingham, 30 snow, 2 to 4 feet, with blizzard warnings in effect from, anywhere northern Georgia all the way to New York and Pennsylvania. Over the Poconos, we can find as much as 2 feet of snow before all said and done. Let's take a look at it on the satellite picture. You can see how the major storm is basically moving into Georgia right now at the center of the low pressure system. You can see those explosive clouds crossing over Florida. Those clouds brought very heavy and violent severe weather across the southern peninsula over the last 24 hours. We had thunderstorms and even tornadoes that raced through Florida earlier this morning. The heavier thunderstorms have moved off the coast of Florida, thank goodness, but we still have reports of a little bit of light rain crossing over the central peninsula. Coastal flood problems for the west coast, so we'll continue to watch that. And we've even had reports of snow in the panhandle of Florida. Yes, the cold air is that far south into the Gulf waters. We've had 6 inches of snow in Meridian, Mississippi, about 2 inches in Jackson, but heavier amounts again in Alabama, in Georgia, Tennessee, and the Piedmont area of North Carolina. Now, for the coastal plains, North Carolina and Virginia anticipate locally gusty winds and possibly some beach erosion and coastal flooding. Of course, this radar shows still the moderate snow we have been reported at Hartsville International in Atlanta, with visibilities less than 1/2 of a mile. That just indicates how heavily the snow is coming down. We have heavy snow being reported right now in Crossville and Bristol, Tennessee, and in the mountains of North Carolina. You see the darker green over our nation's capital. DCA, that 3-letter identifier right there where you see the dark green. Well, we've had reports of very heavy snow moving through our nation's capital. And I'll tell you what, there's more where that came from. It is snowing over most of Pennsylvania into West Virginia and Ohio, snowing right now at the John F. Kennedy Airport and LaGuardia. As a matter of fact, they're reporting visibilities less than 1/4 of a mile. So it's already starting over New York and Pennsylvania, again with the potential of 2 to 4 feet before all said and done. Be wary of the coastal flooding now, with coastal flood warnings from Long Island down to Virginia, North and South Carolina, as the area of low pressure moves quickly along the east coast over the next 24 hours. Temperatures definitely cold in the plain states, and even down south, Atlanta, it's 29 degrees, but you factor in those gusting winds, and Atlanta has a wind chill of some 10 degrees below zero. I look at your afternoon highs today. Let's look ahead and see what we can expect for this upcoming work week. And the look ahead is sponsored by Wheaton Wood. Have been gusting up over 50 miles per hour, and we've had about 9 inches of snow so far. Should stay very windy here, and the snow continues to pile up. Visibility down to about zero at times, especially in open areas. If you are out driving around, it's just not a good idea. A lot of trees down in the Atlanta area. A large accident on 75 North. Interstate 20 out of Atlanta is closed, and conditions are not improving and are not likely to improve until much later today as the storm exits off to the north and east. You're looking at our snow history map here. We've had more than a foot of snow in these areas shaded in white. Just incredible amount of snow, and more to come. Now here's the forecast. 2 to 4 feet of snow expected, and it looks like it will also have very blustery conditions. So some problems with the blowing snow. Measuring the snow could be a real headache because it is blowing around so much as it's falling, and that will cause damage, also very low visibilities. Just not a good idea at all to be traveling. It's likely to get worse as the day improves, as the day continues, excuse me. Let's take a look at our storm. Here's where it is on our forecast map, taking a path a little bit further to the south than some of the models predicted, and that is why we've had snow as far south as Albany, Georgia. Jacksonville, Florida, reporting snow flurries, not accumulating there. And very windy conditions, of course, coming in behind our system. In Florida, they had severe thunderstorms last night, numerous tornadoes and wind and hail damage, and now they're getting the strong onshore winds. And so it looks like flooding has already started on the west coast of Florida. And the snow has already started heavily up towards Philadelphia, West Hampton on Long Island reporting heavy snow, Pittsburgh reporting heavy snow. Most locations in West Virginia, same story. Asheville, North Carolina, heavy snow and wind gusts over 50 miles per hour. West Palm Beach, Florida has had a wind gust this past hour to 66. All right, let's give you a quick rundown of some of the radars, and we'll start you off in the southeast. You can see this is snow. Rome, Georgia to Atlanta, down to Columbus, and as I mentioned, Albany, Georgia, there, ABY, in the southwestern corner of Georgia. It is snowing that far south. And the snow continues up into South Carolina. Of course, Asheville has had over a foot of snow, and it continues here. Very heavy precipitation right along the coast. Some of it is rain. Around Salisbury, Maryland, they're getting rain. Washington, D.C. now sleet and snow, heavy at times. And it's also rain around Elizabeth City that you see there in North Carolina, right along the coast. So the coast is getting rain, very heavy snow in interior regions, and of course everyone has the very strong winds as this system is working northeastward. The snow and the winds are really just starting to pick up at this point in the northeast, so certainly the worst is still ahead. For New York City, for southern New England, granted it is snowing heavily now, but the winds are only from the east at 25 to 35 miles per hour and will pick up to near hurricane force, and of course blizzard advisories are out for the entire area. All right, here's the national picture, and you can see just about everywhere else across the country, very quiet conditions. Granted, it's cold in the plains. The west coast is beginning to see a little bit of precipitation coming in with a weak system. So no big deal here. All the action is definitely in the east. And again, the blizzard conditions are likely to last throughout the day today. In the northeast, may still have blizzard conditions tomorrow. All right, let's give you a rundown of where some of the watches and warnings are. 30s all the way to the Gulf Coast.
Along the southeast and Gulf Coast, and a lot of cold air beginning to plummet on in from Canada. So that is the ingredients. They are the ingredients for development, and we have had it. A lot of folks in a lot of the south and northeast have had it with winter right now, especially after the heat wave that you had, especially in the south the last few days. Low pressure is threatening some pressure records. It already broke a barometric pressure record in Augusta, Georgia this morning. This one is way down below 29 inches, way down on the 28-inch category, a lot like some hurricanes are. And we've had hurricane-force wind gusts already at Savannah Light Station, Frying Pan Shoals off North Carolina. We've had wind gusts in the North Carolina mountains, actually plateau area at about 4,000 feet of 92 miles an hour. Winds exceeding 70 miles an hour in the lower bay of New York the last couple of hours. So it's living up to its potential quite nicely. We now have some very heavy sleet and storm-force winds on Long Island through northern New Jersey down around Philadelphia, and a good chunk of Virginia. Heavy rain on the coastline, and the winds rushing in behind this are really causing some damage on the coast. In fact, also still some coastal flood warning is in effect in Florida, and they have had their coastal flooding already. Still, from Apalachicola to Cape Sable, they're expecting at high tide some
outrageous levels of water. They had waist-deep water on the west coast in some places in the last 24 hours. From Watch Hill southward, coastal flood warnings in effect. We're looking at a history of over a foot of snow in Birmingham, Alabama, a record-breaking 18 inches at Chattanooga, close to 10 inches the north side of Atlanta, and now up to a foot already in eastern parts of Pennsylvania, up to 18 inches in eastern Kentucky, and it all started in the Rockies. The potential is there for over a foot in a good chunk of the northeast, middle Atlantic states, locally 2 to 3 feet additional to what they have, and wind gusts far in excess of 50 miles an hour in the eastern part of the nation. Cold has been a problem, too. The temperature is already below freezing in Atlanta and in the teens in a lot of the northeast, back through the upper Midwest. Some very, very cold weather for any season, especially 7 days before the beginning of March, and incidentally exactly 105 years to the day of the second day of the big blizzard of 1888 in the northeast. Wind chills adding insult to injury. This is a very painful time to be outside with snow and wind chills like that coming into your face. Tornadoes over Florida in the overnight. They had some fatalities in Levy County and also near Jacksonville. At least 5 people lost their lives in a very, very damaging tornado outbreak. The current weather map showing where our low is with respect to the rest of the nation. It's a massive area of snow. They're expecting several feet in parts of the northeast and destructive winds on the coast as things quiet down with a little precipitation in parts of the west. Satellite picture spins on into motion, and we'll see what's happening. There is that big turning action with the low, very deep low over eastern North Carolina. They even had a couple of tornadoes on the Outer Banks early this morning, and all that precipitation moving northward. The cold air and even some snow showers have rushed down into the Florida Panhandle near Tallahassee today. Much more calm weather as we go to the west, a little snow over the Sierra, and some rain and mountain snow showers drifting on through that area. But take a look at the action. A lot of upper-level wind driving the heavy precipitation to the north on the east coast. A lot of heavy rain around the Ocean City, Maryland area, Salisbury. Then it becomes heavy sleet. That's what that yellow is around Baltimore. Then heavy snow just inland from the heavy sleet, and damaging storm-force winds as the snow still funnels on down toward parts of Georgia and even South Carolina. Starting to the south, still some light rain over further north. The snow comes in. They've accumulated to about 14, 15 inches around Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, and that snow driving on up to the north as it goes on into a lot of northern New England, the Bangor area now getting snow, as most of the nation off to the west is kind of clean. Now, what's going to happen to this storm? Let's take a look at the forecast, and we can see that by tomorrow morning on that forecast map, low pressure still on the New England coast with very, very strong winds and very high tides, especially up ahead of it, with some snow kind of backlashing down through the Appalachians. Most of the nation otherwise quiet, although a big warm-up in the high plains off to the west coast.